Hi everyone, Paul Akers, host of the American Innovator. You know, the innovative spirit is alive and well, and everywhere I travel around the world, I bring back ideas and creativity to share with my audience to continuously improve and change the way we live. Welcome to the American Innovator.
I'm going to start off by telling you three stories. The first one is when I graduated from college in about 1984. I took my first job, real job, as a teacher, an industrial arts teacher at Mark Keppel High School in Alhambra, California. It was a large intercultural high school with lots of diversity and different kinds of kids. When I took over that class, it was a very fledgling program. There were very few kids in each of the 5 classes, but within 1 year, I was able to build that program into a full-blown industrial arts woodshop program where the classes were basically full. And the reason why that happened was so simple. I asked the kids, make what you want to make, not what I want you to make. Traditionally in woodshop, you know, there was a cutting board project and there was a shoebox project and maybe a picture frame project. But I said, no, don't do that. I want you to use your creativity, your innovation, and make whatever you want. And all of a sudden, woodshop became highly relevant. Kids were thinking to themselves, man, I could make a bed, I could make a chest of drawers, I could put inlay, I could make a nightstand, I could actually make something that I really want. And so what happened is they became passionate about woodworking. And the rest was history. The class was almost self-sustaining because kids and children were allowed to innovate and create. And they were uninhibited. And they were curious about what possibly they could make out of wood. Then something very interesting happened to me. I'll never forget when it happened. In walked the special ed teacher. And she said, Paul, how do you feel about mainstreaming in special ed kids into your woodshop program? My first thought was, are you crazy? I mean, we have blades and saws and things that will smash fingers, and that was what I thought. But instead, being a little curious, I said, sure, let's give it a try. I realized I was going to be faced with some unusual challenges because I was responsible for the safety of these special needs or special ed kids. So I brought the children who had already done such a great job innovating and building all this cool furniture together, and I simply said, hey, I need your help. I need you to help me teach these kids because there's no way I can watch all 30 of you and watch 3 or 4 special ed kids at the same time. But if you help me, these kids might discover the very same thing you've discovered. They might discover how powerful it is to innovate and create. So we began that journey, and before long, it became very successful. And there is one story of all stories about my high school days that I will never forget, and that's the story of Frank. Frank was an amazing young man, and Frank had a lot of disabilities. He had some tough times learning, but in woodshop, he excelled. And when Frank finished his project with the help of other children helping him and encouraging him, he came up to me so excited. He was literally bouncing up and down. Mr. Akers, Mr. Akers, Mr. Akers, I finished my project. And I realized at that moment that there was greatness in every human being. That if you allowed people to be creative and to innovate and think outside the box and change the expectation, that anything could happen. And from that moment forward, my life was changed because of Frank. The next story I want to tell you about is I want to fast forward to 1997. At this point, I was a general contractor, a cabinet maker. I had a nice little wood shop in my home, very small operation, just me and a couple other employees. And I was working at my house late at night, as most self-employed people do. And it was about 8 o'clock at night, and I was very, very tired, and I wanted to go to bed. And I had this huge job I had to finish. And it involved putting cover caps over all the screws inside the cabinets. But this one night, I was really tired, and I said, you know what? There's got to be another way. There's got to be a better way. Innovation, creativity, curiosity got the best of me. And I began to think about how I could make a better cover cap, because the current methodology required a mechanical cap that you put into the head of the screw, and as you push it in, if the screw is not set just at the right surface, the cap would fall out. So I said, hey, you know, I'm not that smart a guy, but why don't we just make these peel and stick so they just stick over the hole? Why do they have to be connected mechanically? Why can't they just be peel and stick? So I took a piece of edge banding, a common piece of material in my shop, sprayed some contact adhesive on the back of it, ran into my wife, got a creative memory stamp of a Christmas tree, and boom, pounded out my first FastCap. And that happens to be the name of my company today. And I took it and I put it over the screw hole, and it worked incredibly well. Now, I have a little bit of similarities with Frank, and Frank probably didn't think he could successfully build a woodshop project that he could feel proud of. I mean, up to that point, I don't think anybody told him he could do that. And up to this point in my life, I don't think anybody ever told me that, Paul, you could become a wildly successful inventor. But I took a line from Frank, and I got real excited. I got real excited about the prospect of taking this new idea to the market, as simple as it was. The next day, one of my salespeople came from one of the companies that I buy products from, and I showed it to him, and he said, wow, that's a great idea. And I said, well, maybe I got something here. You know, maybe I can make enough money to go on vacation, because we were just a one-income family raising 2 young children. We didn't have a lot of extra money, and, you know, it'd been nice to make a little extra money. Maybe we'd go on vacation once a year. So that was my thinking. So anyways, I took this product, and I spent the next 3 months innovating and trying as hard as I could to figure out how to make this product. And I finally figured it out. And after about, 3 months, I came up with my first prototype. I peeled it off. I put it on the cabinet. It worked perfect. I go, wow, this is incredible. I took it to a trade show, totally on the fly. Was in somebody else's booth, made these cheesy little brochures, handed the brochures to people as they walked in and said, hey, what do you think of this product? I said, yeah, I like it. Got back from the trade show. Miraculously, the fax started ringing. Back then we were using fax machines, and I started getting these orders for these caps. I got an order for like $5,000 in the first month, and then $12,000 and $18,000. And before long, I was filling lots of orders for lots of caps. Who would have thought that a cabinet maker, a guy who has no background in innovation, no background in creating a useful product, could do such a thing? Now, the question I have for you is, how many of you would like to walk into a store and say, that's my idea? How many of you have walked into stores and said, I had that idea and somebody else did it? That is really the common dilemma. All of us know that we have the capacity to create something creative. We don't know how to go about doing it. We don't understand what the rules of the game are, if you will. Nor did I, but I've learned the rules of the game. And today I want to talk to you about how to create an innovative culture where you can get continuous flow of ideas coming at you nonstop. So what happened next was, and this is the next story, that idea hit the market and it took off. And then I created another product called the Laser Jam, and it was incredibly successful too. Lucky me. People started coming up to me from the industry and started saying, Paul, I've got an idea. And then another person would say, I have an idea. And then another person would say, I have an idea. And I got to thinking, wow, I'm not the only one who's creative. Frank's not the only one who's creative. Everybody has a creative genius inside of them. Everybody has the capacity to innovate and create useful products for the world. And I know that may sound like a little bit of a stretch, but it's true. Let me explain. So I began to say, what if I made my company the business plan around taking other people's ideas and bringing them to market? So I began to do that. I began to take other people's ideas. They'd approach me and say, I got this idea. And I'd say, okay, well, let me hear what it is. And a lot of them were really good. And so I took those ideas and I started bringing them to market. And interestingly, I treated people fairly. I paid them a 5% royalty. We didn't go through a whole bunch of legal jargon and legal paperwork. I just did the right thing. And in the process, the model grew. And today, we're in 40 countries, 2,700 distributors around the world, from a little cabinet shop in my garage just 15 years ago. You can see that when you begin to honor the creativity of other people, when you begin to think that other people have good ideas, not just you, that those are the beginning seeds of creating an innovative culture. So the key is the ability to say, what's your idea? Instead of saying, this is mine. When you create an environment where people begin to collaborate with one another, some unusual things can happen. Now, there's another story, though, that's probably even more astounding. 3 years into my company, things are going very well. I've won Business of the Year, very successful. Everything, for all intents and purposes, are fantastic. We have this young, hip culture. Things are rocking. Things are rolling. I'm doing really well. We win Business of the Year, and I have the bank come in, and the bank's going to give us a $250,000 line of credit. The bank president actually paid a visit to our company to look around before he gave us this big line of credit. And he looked around and he said, you know, Paul, I've never seen a company so well run, so well managed, so well organized. I'd give you any amount of money you wanted. And I got to be honest with you, that was a very unusual thing for a bank to say to a young fledgling startup from a guy who had no MBA, no background in business. I was an education major. But here's the earth-shattering truth. A week after that bank president came in, I had a man come in to consult me on how to manage inventory. And he walked around our facility and he looked around, did the same tour the president did, but he had a different response. When I asked him, Tracy, can you help me? He paused. And I said, why are you pausing? Can't you help me manage my inventory? He says, I don't know. I said, what do you mean you don't know? And I said, well, you know, I don't know if I can help you. And I said, well, what's my problem? And he said, you don't know what you're doing and you don't know how to manufacture. Now, needless to say, that was like, wow, that shook me up. So instead of responding as someone might have traditionally responded to that kind of a response, I said, what do I need to do? Curiosity. He said, you need to learn something called TPS, or the Toyota Production System, or lean manufacturing. Now, I had no clue what this guy was talking about. And as far as I'm concerned, he was speaking Greek to me. And I'm Greek, and I didn't understand it. But I said, how do I learn it? He said, hire these consultants, and they'll come in and they'll teach you. So these consultants came in and started looking at all the waste in my operation. I never heard of waste before, not in the kind of waste these guys were talking about. Overproduction, transportation, inventory, overprocessing, excess motion, waiting, so forth. I'd never really heard of these wastes. But they went in and took processes that I was doing from 45 minutes and turned them into 5 minutes. And they did that in 2 different areas of my manufacturing plant. And they did it in the course of about a week. Needless to say, I was like, wow, this is crazy. Now, I found a way to put innovation on steroids by understanding waste. Now, that concept had never come to me before. I thought innovation was just, hey, let's go out and build an airplane like the Wright brothers, or let's go out and build a light bulb like Edison, or let's go out and build the automobile mass production like Ford. I didn't realize there was a methodology to creating a hyper innovative culture. So I began to teach all my employees the 8 ways. So every morning in our morning meeting, we all recite the 8 ways. So one person every day has to recite the 8 ways, and they have to make it relevant. They have to tell a story. We don't just remember the stuff wrote. So here's a good example. My favorite one of all time, a girl named Lillian. Here's how I remember the 8 ways. This weekend, I decided to do the laundry in the house. But instead of obeying the principles of one-piece flow, which is one of the main tenets of lean manufacturing, she decided to do a batch work, which is one of the anti-tenets of lean manufacturing. So she went and did all the laundry. She did all the wash, right? She had all this wash. And then she started putting it all in the dryer. And then she did all the drying. And then after she finished all the drying, she had to fold it all. So she said, here's the way I remember waste. First of all, instead of doing one-piece flow, doing 1 load of laundry, 1 load of drying, folding it all right when it came out of the dryer, this time I did a big batch work, and now what I had to do was I had to transport all the dried laundry onto the couch. So she overproduced, made too much laundry, Then she transported it to the couch. Then she had to put an inventory on the couch, right? So then from there she had to overprocess it, because now she had to pull out the ironing board and iron all the clothes, because if she would have done it one piece flow right when it came out of the dryer, she wouldn't have had to iron it. So now she's overprocessing, and she's using excess motion. She's, lots of motion like this. So what Lilia did was she overproduced the laundry. Then she had to transport it to the living room. Then she had to put it in inventory on the couch. Then after she put it on inventory on the couch, she had to go get the ironing board to iron all the clothes. So that's overprocessing. Why did she have to iron all the clothes? Because she didn't fold them right when they came out of the dryer, and as a result, there were defects. So she's removing the defects by overprocessing. Then there's excess motion. Then her family's waiting for the laundry, and she's wasting her potential because she's doing basically stupid work, ironing the clothes, instead of solving the world's problems, because she overproduced. So once you understand the 8 ways, you have opportunity now to make endless innovations on how to make things better. So from that point, Lily was able to say, there's a better way to do laundry. If you do it one piece flow and you set everything up in a sequential method, you can be a lot more effective. So we began teaching the 8 ways. And then what happened was people started coming with more and more ideas, because they could see waste and they saw the opportunity to improve. And when you see the opportunity to improve, then you see the opportunity to innovate. And that is the basis for creating the most innovative culture, frankly, I've ever seen. We simply teach our people to see waste. And we make it fun, and we make a story out of it. So the net result is we've got an entire culture of people that have learned to see waste. And the result of that, they're making better ways to do the laundry. They're making better ways to make woodworking products. They're finding new solutions to problems, which are creating new innovations. Now, it doesn't stop there, because all those innovations are also coming to us from our customers. I get like 10 ideas a day. They just flood at me, because we teach lean as an organization. We teach the 8 ways. Our customers are learning the 8 ways. They begin to see the waste. They say, how could I make this better? They make an improvement. It turns into an innovation. The innovation turns into a product. And it all came from the concept of understanding that there is greatness in every human being. And thank you to Frank for teaching me that in my early years as an industrial arts teacher. That's what I have. Thanks for listening.
Remember, life's an adventure. Be a part of the solution. Go out, learn, improve, change, think outside the box. We can change the way the world thinks. Be an innovator. I really got to stop getting myself in these situations. That's a leopard, and that's an elephant. Yes, and this is a cheetah.
Like, oh, I saw
Here,
that.
kitty, 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 kitty,
Oh,
kitty.
cute. He wants to play.
Uh-oh, uh-oh. Got it.